I hate fucking Google so much I can't even fucking see straight right now. I can't stand them. They're wanting to rule the goddamn internet. They're wanting to impose all these rules on everybody else, and they don't want to have to follow a single goddamn rule. Yes, I use their search. Yes, I use their mail, but goddamn, that's fucking changing. I guarantee you, if fucking Google wasn't plastered all over the fucking Safari menu bar up here, I wouldn't goddamn use it. I'm getting sick of Google and their fucking monopolistic and tyrannical ways of doing things. I just ran across this. Excuse me for being so upset and so aggravated because this has really just got my fucking goat like nothing else in the past 5 years has got my goat. I just come across this article. It says AT&T says Google Voice violates net neutrality principles. You know, the application that they were bitching and crying that they said, oh, we're getting treated unfairly. Apple or AT&T rejected us. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That's what I say to Google. It says here, at issue is Google's decision not to connect Google Voice customers to certain conference calling and other lines because of what it says are excessive access charges by the providers of those lines. So Google is blocking certain customers from taking certain conference calls and other lines. Now their excuse for this is, oh, they're charging too much. We're trying to save money. But what was the Apple reason for not approving the Google app? Right? What was the reason? It bypassed AT&T's network almost practically. It give you a new phone number. It almost changed the UI of the iPhone. Now these guys are complaining about Apple rejecting their Google app off the iPhone because of things they said didn't chime well with their policy. And now Google has the audacity to turn around and say, yeah, you have to let us on the fucking iPhone, but we have every goddamn right in the world to block certain calls if we want to on Google Voice. You know why? Because we're not a phone company. We're not a phone company, so we can do any goddamn thing we want. We want to block calls, then we can block certain fucking calls. But if you want to block us, fuck you, we're going to take you to the F goddamn CC. That's what I'm having a fucking problem with. This is from the Google blog. Google's voice goal is to provide consumers with free or low-cost access to as many advanced communication features as possible. In order to do this, Google Voice does restrict certain outbound calls from our web platform to these high-priced destinations. Oh, so you're just deciding that that's too much money for me? Despite AT&T's efforts to blur the distinctions between Google Voice and traditional phone services, there are many significant differences. You see, that's the problem that I have. Google's trying to say, oh, our Google Voice app is not like a phone app. We don't have to follow the rules you have to follow, but you have to fucking let us in the iPhone store. If you don't, we're going to stick the FCC on you. But never mind that we have the right to block anybody we want to block out from using our shit. It says, unlike traditional carriers, Google Voice is free, web-based software application, and so is not subject to common carrier laws. Oh, that's right. The application's free, and because it's free, they're not subject to carrier laws. Are you fucking kidding me? You wonder why Google is behind this net neutrality bullshit? Because every other fucking company has to conform to these new laws, but Google doesn't have to because technically they're not a fucking phone company? You mean to tell me they can release phone apps and Google Voices and all this stuff and their fucking shit is we are not subject to common carrier laws because our application is free? And you wonder why they give away free applications? You think they're being fucking nice about it? You think that's why they give away free applications, to help you out? Take the fucking cloth over your eyes, guys, and get a fucking clue. Now, it goes on to say, Google Voice is not intended to be a replacement for traditional phone service. What? It's not intended to be a replacement. Great, I'm sure it's not. But that don't stop you from advertising it as, giving new phone numbers. I've seen how this Google Voice works. They give you a new phone number and everything. Google Voice is currently invitation only. Oh, okay, so because it's invitation only, you don't have to apply to the same rules and consumer laws that AT&T does, correct? Is that it? It says AT&T is trying to make this about Google's support for open internet, but the comparisons just doesn't fly. Why not? Because your app is free? Because because telephone isn't your #1 business? Is that why the comparison just doesn't fly? If you have the right to block out certain calls from your app, then Apple has every goddamn right to block your shit from their stuff. Let's see, what else does it go on to say? The FCC's open internet principles apply only to the behavior of broadband carriers. And you wonder why Google is so behind this open internet principles? Because they can put all these regulations that you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this and that to AT&T and all these broadband carriers. But Google's exempt. Would you believe that? The FCC's open internet principles apply only to the behavior of broadband carriers, not the creators of web-based software applications. Well, no wonder you're behind this open web movement. Don't you get it? No matter how great in principle this open internet sounds, it's the first time they're beginning to regulate the internet, and it's bad, bad, bad. Everybody's saying, well, yeah, these companies shouldn't throttle people and shouldn't prevent access. And no, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. They should find a way to figure this out without imposing regulation. Because now the FCC is going to have to stand over top of everybody and make sure they're following these open internet rules. Which means, if they don't follow these open internet rules, the FCC steps in and does something about it. So technically, the FCC is regulating. The only thing it is letting the FCC, give the FCC the authority to fuck you, is what you're doing. So they can step in and say, hey, you're not following our regulations. You're fucking getting fined $1 million, or whatever the punishments may be. It's regulation in the disguise of openness. And I can't see how you all don't understand this. I know a lot of you do, and I applaud you for getting it. But for the guys who don't get it, and who are just up Google's ass so far that they can't see any sunlight, get your head out of Google's fucking ass and get smart. Please. Even though the FCC does not have jurisdiction over how software applications function, AT&T apparently wants to use the regulatory process to undermine web-based competition and innovation. Now, can you believe this? They're bitching about people blocking their Google Voice app, but they feel like they can block anything they want to be able to block. If they want to block somebody, a certain call on Google Voice, they should be able to do that because open internet don't apply to them. Because they're not a broadband carrier. Give me a fucking break. If you read this and look at this story, you'll see that Google is being nothing but huge, complete hypocrites. And I hate them for it, and my distaste for Google is happening every single day, more and more and more. And when I seen this, that they're threatening to block certain calls on Google Voice because of charges and fees, but yet they're sticking the FCC on Apple for blocking Google Voice. Do you know how that makes me feel about Google? Fuck you, OS X.